Welcome everybody. My name is Damien Sheehy and I'm an ABI recipient. Up until the age of 25, I'd never broken a bone in my body. And on the 11th of March 1989, I was en route to Adelaide to photograph a drag racing event. Now, we'll clarify that, not these idiots who race on the street and are called drag races, they're street races. We run in a controlled environment. Anyway, on the way to Adelaide, we'd just gone over the border and we got to border town. And we stopped, had a break. I went back to sleep in the car. I was a front seat passenger, had my seatbelt on, so I was asleep like that with my face facing towards the driver. Well, we got going again, the driver fell asleep. And at 160 k's on impact, we went under the front of a semi fully loaded with 34 tonne on him. And the photo there is a head-on impact at 160. My driver walked away.
What?
He walked away. I've only ever seen him twice, and the second time he said to me, "You got money, I got nothing." I had to hold everything back from punching the absolute out of him. So I spent 8 months in hospital. First 3 weeks were in a coma. When I come out of it, I was having a conversation like I am now with my sister. And she went away and come back a minute later. She goes, "Do you know who I am?" I said, "No, now use that capital word with F on it," and told her to see you later. So then she knew I was in trouble. So from there I went back into surgery, and the one in the top right there was done after 12 hours in surgery, where they ripped my face open, went bang, and replated all my right side of my face. And the funny thing about that was, for the first week I couldn't open my eyes, and in those days the telephone you used were the old ones where you put your finger in the number and go round and round. So I used to have to ring reverse charges all the time, so I used to be able to count the numbers. In the end I got real friendly with the operators. It was really good. My injuries were a depressed fracture of the skull with pressure on the brain. I broke my nose, my top jaw, I knocked 8 teeth out. The right side of my face was all smashed. I had a compound left femur, 2 tib and fib in left ankle. I broke the right ulnar and radius. Probably one of the hardest things for me to do was have my leg elevated while I was in hospital, and I hated that. They'd bend it back down a little bit, and I used to swear quite a lot at them. And my food was purified. It was like someone had spewed up on your plate, to put it nicely, excuse me. And that's how I had to learn to eat again. So after 8 weeks in Royal Adelaide Hospital, I was gladly left there, and I was escorted onto the plane via a forklift and a pallet. They put me up, got onto the plane, had 3 seats across me. That was all right. Took off, first plane ride. Everything was going well until we got to Melbourne. We hit the tarmac, and they throw the engines back in reverse, so to speak, and I start shuddering and that. And here's me, I think, "Oh shit, I survive a head-on with a semi at 160, I die in my own town." Absolutely flipping. And this guy next to me said, "It's all right, mate, it's all right." But he couldn't stop this larger lady who happened to walk past me. My foot was just out of the seat, and it was all, I didn't say the F word, but bloody hell it hurt. And then from there, my departure out of the aeroplane was just as bad. They had 2 Rambos come up. They got me on the stairs and they carried me all the way down to the tarmac. And I thought, if this guy falls, shit, that's a long way to go. I was flying. So from there I went to Caulfield Rehab, which is now, I can't remember what it's called now. It's in Kooyong Road, Caulfield. It used to be. Is it? Okay. And that was where I probably learnt one of the most valuable lessons in life. 25 I was, the average age was 80. Oh God, I loved it. I really did. Like, I wasn't an arrogant person in my time, but just listening to the people from the depression years and that, and the way they went through everything in life, and then they'd ask me what I thought of it now. I mean, man, I take that to my grave now. That's one of the most phenomenal things I've ever had the pleasure of learning about. Then from there I went to the which is now defunct, it's called something else, but it was the old TAC, rehab in Glen Waverley. I was pretty cut up about myself, I got wiped out, not my own fault. Just minding my own business, and this idiot falls asleep and wipes me out and he walks away. Yeah, he walked away. I still can't get over that one. Anyway, there's this guy there. His name was David. And I'm not reading from this. This is all from what's in here, believe it or not. And he's running around in there. He's a paraplegic. He's on his wheelchair. His Papa Mono's just going around and around. I went up to this guy. I said, man, what happened? I was on my bike, going up the road, motorbike course. And this idiot did a right-hand turn in front of me, just cut him off, so he just went straight through him. And he goes, that's life. I've got to get on with it. Until this day, right now, I'd give to meet him. He was my inspiration to think, shit, I got nothing. You know, I'm still walking, I'm talking. And this guy's in a wheelchair, and to me, that would have robbed my life. But I never had the chance to meet him again, you know, but I still think about him, and you always know, no matter what, there's someone else worse off than you. Now I'll go have a look at the things. My cognitive issues, you can see I might fluctuate a little bit when I'm talking. I have a short-term memory, but in saying that, I hold an MC licence, which is a multi-combination truck licence. I've carried dangerous goods. Basically, everything the doctors told me I couldn't do, I said, thank you, and I've done it. Call myself the Defier, but sometimes it doesn't work. Now, see, they've got this laughing motion in the audience. Now, I forgot to say that when all you people here die, you'll go to heaven. Well, I'm so good, I've got so much metal in me, I'll go to Sims Metal be recycled. I'm on the ball today. My moods swing from time to time, and probably the last 4 years have been the hardest, but I'll get to that in a minute. I've worked with Glenn for a very long time, which I'm privileged, and I won't embarrass the other guy, but he's here, and I've had a run-in with him too, haven't I? Just once or twice, but he knows, we're all good. You know, I don't like having my hip replaced, I'll tell you what, it hurts. Out of 34 operations, that is the most painful thing I've ever had in my life, I tell you. They reckon I've got to get the other one done? Pig's ass, I will. My behaviour, I play with my medication, I won't lie. I think there's some psychologists or psychiatrists, I can't remember which one's which. If one of you issue medication, if you heard of dexamphetamine, they diagnosed me ADHD, which is a good thing because I get on 10 of them, drink a couple of monsters, and I'll drive straight to Queensland in a truck, only stop for fuel and that. But when you play with them and you only take 5 for a couple of days, you really fluctuate. So I've got to learn to stay on my medication and, you know, be consistent. Consistency is one of my biggest problems, and I still admit that 26 years later. In 1982, go back before my ABI. In 1982, I got in with the wrong crowd. I was 18, and I'd done a couple of burgs and I knocked off a car. Yeah, all right, I did it. 12 months later, I got caught. So that was the start of my involvement with the police force. I had a lawyer. I got convicted in Melbourne Magistrates Court. They told me I was going for a holiday, but I got a $500 fine and 12 months probation. My next one was back in 2000 was my next appearance before a police officer. This is where it gets nice. I'd lived with my wife, or then lived, married, been together 17 years. This particular day we had a fight, and she put a picture over my head and split my head open. So I've never hit a female, so I pushed her, open fist. I pushed her out of my way. She rang the coppers up. I'm down, the doctor's getting stitched up. I come back and I'm pumping, and I see the coppers there. So me getting very agitated, I got a bit fired up and said, you know, a few things. So they told me to come down and make a statement, which I had intended to. Andrew will be good for this one. My understanding is that if you go into a police interview room, you can't have the door locked on you. So that means I couldn't leave. I haven't been charged. I'm free to go at any time. One would think that's a no-no. Well, then they come in, they started trying to interview me, and they had their guns and that on me. I know a little bit, and it was my understanding at that stage that they can't interview you if they got their weapons and that on you. So I'd give them a mouthful, and I told them what I thought of them. So they locked me in the thing again. I rang 000 and that, but it gets covered up, all right, you know. So I couldn't prove it. So then this other guy comes in, and I'm sitting in a chair. He's about my age. He's an acting sergeant, And he leans over to Damien, is it? Yeah. What's your problem? I ain't got a problem. A few words were exchanged. I said, see that A for acting sergeant? You're nothing but an acting sergeant's arsehole. Well, with that, he pulled me across the table, threw me into the wall, and next minute, 6 of them on the ground kicking the shit out of me, excuse the expression. We went to ethical standards, and they said to me, mate, said the odds are against you, 6 to 1. We know they got you, but we can't do jack. So from then on, I've never had a lot of faith in the police force. At that time, LEAP wasn't in. I'm not sure how many people know what LEAP is. I've only learned it maybe last 3-4 years. And I found that for people who don't know what LEAP is, but very quickly, you can be registered with the Victoria Police like me, saying I have a disability. It tells them what my trigger points are, how they can approach me, the best way to handle me, and it can be a good thing. So that's something I look onto quite well now. Funnily enough, the cameras happened to be turned off in that cell that day in that interview room. That was interesting. I was charged with assaulting police and resisting arrest, yet I went to make a statement. So how does that work? I was pissed off. I pleaded guilty and received a diversion. An ITP would have maybe helped in that case, but I'm a pretty stubborn person and like to think I can do everything on my own. But lately I've decided I've got to bite the bullet a bit. And so, I was dirty about fronting the magistrate and saying, yeah, right, I hit this copper and I did this and that. And but I just fell on my sword and copped it, so it was all right. I've attended other police interviews, whether my children have been there to be interviewed. I've had interventions served on me. I've been accused of breaching intervention orders. The first time the prosecutor didn't pursue it. The second time they found that there was enough evidence to go to court, and I just shut up. What happened was there's 3 entrances to the school, and my neighbour's kid had a problem with my kid, so the mother was designated to use either left or the inner or outer entrances, and I was to go straight up the middle. This particular day I've walked in, and I've walked past her. She was right in the middle of where I walked in. So they charged me for breaching an order, but she'd agreed to in writing that she would only use the outer, or, the 2 outer entry exits. So we got to court, and I pleaded not guilty, and they give me, say everything. I said to the judge, Judge, I just got this to show you. And I handed up a piece of paper, which this silly idiot had signed to say that I could walk up the middle one. Case dismissed, thank you very much. So I beat them. I prefer to do my interviews alone. I believe I can handle myself pretty well. I've sort of got used to being around the police involvement for one thing or another. No, I've never been in jail, come close, but haven't been there. Probably my surname, because of my children, is not real good up in the western suburbs, but you get good and bad coppers up there too, and I think if you can get in a pool with one of them, we do all right. And there's a few up there I get on well with, and they know what fires me up, and they learn to try and just work with me rather than against me. Do I believe in having an ITP for a person who has a brain injury? I think it depends on the person themselves. Some people could think they can handle themselves in an interview, some can't. Sometimes I'm just pig-headed and say, no, I don't want one. And there's other times when I probably should have. And it's very recently that I've decided I've got to fall on my sword, because I've been pushing something for a long time now where it's taken my health down so far that, there's times recently where I wish I wasn't here. And this, I think, will come into the next part of it, of my association in dealing with the police. Support from court personnel would be helpful in some cases. I'm not saying it necessarily work for me, because one thing I can't stand is people telling me they know what I'm going through, or, these counsellors, no disrespect to anyone here, I'm a straight shooter. Unless you've been there, don't tell me how to cope, because I'll tell you where to go. I'm sorry, but that's just me, all right? It's probably hard, because I'm real hard on something like that, though. People say, oh yeah, you got a brain injury, the doctors told me I never do this and this. Well, I've done it all. And, I'm pretty proud of myself for what I've done. But the hardest thing in life is they never teach you how to be a parent, do they? They just say, here's a book and you never stop learning. Another time back in 2012, this is interesting, I'd had an argument with my family, and I'll go more into detail about this a little bit later. But I was granted a diversion. So the judge normally calls you up one by one and you look at him and say, yeah, Mr. Sheehy, all right, you agree this? Yeah. Well, this guy was in a hurry for lunch, so he pulled 5 of us up. He's talking to us, so I got my head down. I'm listening to him, but I'm taking it all in. He kicked me out of court because he said I had attitude, I didn't look at him. So he lectured the other 4, gave him the thing, and he called me back in. He says, you were charged for carrying a prohibited weapon and assaulting police. Prohibited weapon was what they call a truck buddy. It's a wooden stick where you go around and hit the tyres on your trucks. This particular day I'd had an argument with my family and it was in my back pocket. I never pulled it out. The copper charged me for having it, and then he capsicum sprayed me because I tried to kick him off my own property. I hadn't done it and I felt like I was a mess that day, and you understand why in a minute. So I was pretty dirty on that one, but then the judge goes into me, he goes, well, you can either take the diversion or you go to court. And he said something like, well, the evidence is in front of me. I said, yeah, well, there's 2 sides of the story, isn't there? He didn't like it. Well, do you want the diversion? I said, well, if you're offering it, can't win. So, yeah, I took that. And I was pretty angry because not everything should be based on what's in front of you. There's always exceptional circumstances, or more than meets the eye. So I just copped it sweet, and that was probably the last one I'd done. I ended up apologising to the copper 12 months later, and he said if he had known it was my son, he goes, he wouldn't have intervened. I said, you got to understand, I was emotional. He goes, yeah, but in the heat of the moment, I'm coming down. I said, well, this is where leap would maybe come in to a lot for the coppers. Not saying that it's always possible. If they go into a job, they got time to get on the database and look up, Damien Sheehy, he's on leap. Right, okay, yep, we'll tread a little bit more carefully. So, support from local court personnel would be helpful sometimes. Not saying always for me, because I think it depends on everyone's needs. So, yeah, I think that sums that half up, doesn't it?
Sure.
All right.
Yep.
Now,
Things you've learned.
Things I've learned about an ABI and the justice system. Advice to the appropriate people I'll tell the appropriate people you have an ABI and some of the ways it might affect you, like it might be my stance, the way I talk or look, or if I put my head down. Tell an ITP if you need breaks, access to notes. The same goes for a court liaison officer. Ask people to speak clearly and slowly. Not a lot of make it short and sweet for me. That's the way I want it. What has helped the most is every person needs to be treated as an individual, and this is a big thing for me. I'm listening to all these people in the room here. They've got a client here and a client there. And like I said, I'm not knocking anyone, so please don't take my comments the wrong way. But I believe every person with an ABI needs to be judged on their individual merits. And I don't believe, I'm not saying here, but I don't believe overall that people do that. You'll find that the doctors are a prime example of a textbook case, I say. They know everything in theory. When it comes to practical, they know all right? And I based that because of what happened to me. Everything they told me. I got a 51% medical impairment. There's one psych I went to in Collins Street back in '93. He goes, it's all right, mate, you'll get your 30%. I didn't know what it was. My accident happened in Adelaide, so it was complicated for the TAC. My biggest mistake was I settled, and now I'm paying for it 26 years later, So, I just think I can't stress enough to the carers. I've worked in the field myself in disability and aged care, and I'm real passionate about people who've got disability, and I just think they need to be supported on their own individual merits. I end up leaving Scope because I put my arm around a female client and said, it's all right, love, it'll be all right. I was a male carer. You don't do that, but a female carer can go and do it. So I told them what I thought and walked out. That's me though, I'm pretty rough around the edges sometimes. Now I can go into my second part, I think. I never give up. You tell me I can't do it, I'll go out and piss you off, excuse the expression, and I'll do it just to say I did it. But this next issue, I've got someone in my sights today, and I'm very sorry, Andrew, but I'm going to nail you on something today, if you will. And it's not a personal attack, but mate, I am desperate, all right? So we'll see how we go with this. In the second part, sorry, this is very important to you understand. This was my son. I don't know if everyone can see, I just lifted up for a minute. That was my son, he was 18 years old. His name was Daniel. And just so we get the record straight, I got my first tat at 35. I was finishing my sleeves with Daniel in 2012, but he's not here anymore. In middle February 2012, Daniel was kidnapped, thrown in the boot of a car with another guy, taken down to where we live in Melton. I'm not going to shy away from what I say. And they shot at him. It was drug related. He wouldn't sell ice. He was caught between two groups. He sat on the fence. And the next thing I'm about to tell you, as I want to try and make this very clearly, don't feel sorry for me, even though this might really touch a few nerves. It's the way I deal with it. If I talk about it, I deal with it. On the 14th of March, which is 3 days after my anniversary of my accident, I lost him. At 1:45 in the morning, his bedroom was on fire. And I heard him screaming to me, "Dad, Dad, help me, help me." Mate, I flew through the house. The way our house is set up, every door that would have been normally opened was shut and vice versa. I hit his door, I opened it, and I got thrown back probably a metre from the backdraft. His whole room was engulfed. He was, and I really got to get this out, he was kneeling at the side of his bed, and I said, for F's sake, get up, get up. He goes, I can't. So, after the first time I got thrown out, I went back in, that's when I said that to him. And I took 2 steps in, I grabbed him, I pulled him back in a backstroke motion. His bedroom door goes, if it's closed, it goes that way to open, and he's got a cupboard door that goes that way. So they interlocked. I've got him into the door jamb. He's looked at me. I lost him. I kicked the door in again. I couldn't get him. I panicked and ran for help. My wife says I murdered him. I should have burnt with him, you know. I've been divorced for 15 years. The coroner turned around and said he was still alive when I left him. It's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to live with. Originally it was treated as a murder and then went to arson squad. We had it at coroner's court, and in February this year they ruled it as an accidental finding based on evidence they found, but we still don't agree. We've appealed it. The biggest thing is he said he couldn't get up. Everyone remembers I said that. He had a break in his leg. They're trying to tell me it happened after he died. And my biggest problem now is I'm fighting with the DPP and Andrew. I want to take John Champion and a county court judge for discrimination because they stopped me going into a court case where I had made no statements. I was just there as an avid listener to support someone. And every time I've asked someone to help me, I can't get any help. It's the same now. I've decided I've got to fall on my sword and ask for a worker to come back and help me because I've lost it now, you know. I can't do it anymore. I need help to just get on with everyday life. And the one thing I'll say is I'll never give up. And justice for Daniel, we know what's right and what's wrong. And the sad thing was the person we believe murdered him was probably from here to Glen away from my son. And when the fire started, he spoke to him in the car. The coppers, the coroner never called him. The justice system sucks in my eyes. Thank you. I should just say before Karen comes on, I'm an open book, so don't be afraid to ask me something because I'd rather tell you the truth than leave you wondering. So hit me with something, I don't mind.
Hi Damien, thank you very much for your story.
Thank you.
My name's Bridget, I'm from Jesuit Social Services. I'm just wondering, given that you had a little bit of contact with the justice system before you got your acquired brain injury and then after, Are there things that you can think about where the ABI's made it more difficult to be in court or to be in, have contact with the justice system, police or courts than before when you didn't have the ABI? Is that something?
Absolutely, I'm pig-headed. Glenn will tell you, Mick will tell you. I'll go in head first and abuse it out of someone, and then if I'm wrong, I'll be the first one to pick up the phone and say, hey, sorry, Bridget, I was out of whack. But yeah, the ABI has changed my life completely, and it's not something that I ask people to feel sorry for, but man, I didn't have a care in the world before I had my ABI. I've had my stomach pumped a few times, I'm not going to lie, a few other things, but this one's tested me, the latest one for me boy, and as much as sometimes I feel I want to be with him, I've got to fight, and every door that keeps shutting on me, whether it's the ABI or not now, I am determined to stick it up him, and this John Champion, who's a DPP, I want him. He won't talk to me, see, and like you can see it now, I get the aggression coming into me. I'm determined I'm going to get this guy. Well, not get him in that way. I want a conversation with him and ask him why. Because I'll just touch on this very quickly, sorry. He said to me that I wrote a letter of complaint about this court case. He goes, I've investigated it and have found that your claims are unsubstantiated, if that's whatever. I had 3 independent witnesses with me when the barrister said to me, he goes, you can't go in. They didn't interview him. How do you work that out? So, like I said, I believe if I'm right, I've got to go whole hog. But it's got to the stage now where, because of my ABI and because of what has happened with my son especially, I'm at my wit's end now. Mick, one of the guys here, knows me pretty well. Glenn knows me inside out. I need help.
Thanks again for your story.
You're welcome.
I'm just wondering, are you finding that the kind of advocacy is different for you in the case with your trying to achieve justice for your son?
Absolutely.
Compared to when you're the focus of a court case? So is there anything available for someone in your position, or is that the struggle that you're having?
That's the struggle I'm having. Everything's in a too hard basket. No disrespect to my legal barrister over there, but a lot of people. I've touched base with David Galbelly. I've rattled some big name lawyers. Yeah, but they all turn the crap on me. No one wants to help me, especially now I want to go up against the judge and the DPP, who's the Director of Public Prosecutions. Why? And that's frustrating.
Is that the issue, that in the system the person with the ABI has to be the focus of a court case, or can they get advocacy just for being involved in some kind of criminal justice case? Basically, is there any flexibility in terms of the advocacy available for people with ABI, depending on where exactly they fit in a case?
It's a good question. We have an advocate in the room, don't we? Am I right?
We can assist the individual in terms of for themselves or for as assisting a family member, but making it clear that it's not legal advocacy, but in supporting the individual in linking up with the legal system, getting the supports in place in dealing with whatever issue that they may have. So it doesn't have to be the individual themselves who has the problem, but whatever support the individual may need as a family member as well. Just on that note, I'm wondering maybe Villamanta maybe also be able to, I'm not sure, provide some advice about this as well. So.
Hi Damien.
Hi.
I'm just wondering, what would you like? What's on your LEAP system? And who contributes to that information that gets put onto that?
Okay. In regards to the LEAP system, I voluntarily give out my information to police, and as my understanding is only police have access to that. At any stage I can go and take it off too. But at the moment I think it's a good thing. Like most of the coppers in Melton know who I am now. I'm not proud of it, but we have good rapport with a lot of them. There's a couple who still tread water with me. But overall, I think by having the LEAP was a great thing for me. I hope that answers it.
Would you have things on there like, don't approach me aggressively, and you'd have specific behavioural stuff you would like of them?
Yeah, probably one of the biggest things is don't come heavy-handed at me. Last year I had a welfare check done on me where 5 of them walked up my driveway and I just got out the door and completely told them to see you later. One kept coming, and it was the way he did it. He engaged me. Like I'm talking to you, he engaged me. Damien, here you go, mate. I'm such and such. Look, you all right? We got a call, you know. Yeah, mate, I'm sweet. I'm just flipping out. All right, I'm sweet. I'm not going to suicide, not nothing. It's all right. You want to come in? Come in. But don't send your bozos coming up with you, because that's what will put me off. Okay, then I'll go to defensive. So you know, you get 5 coming at you. Well, straight away your immediate reaction is to go into a defence, and that's what unfortunately what I can do still. But I'm trying to work on it, you know, because I know they're only trying to help me, but sometimes it can be overwhelming or confronting, and I think if they know that, that's helped me out a lot.
Hi Damien, I'm Helene. I work for the Transport Accident Commission. So I have about 15 clients that have that have very serious behaviours of concern and a lot of issues and all that sort of thing. And my commitment is to make a real difference to my clients, obviously, as much as I can. I've got 3 colleagues here also who are very passionate about being amazing support coordinators for our clients and not just being claims managers, but actually making a difference in their lives. One of the issues that I'm finding, especially with my clients, is that pre-motor vehicle accident injury issues, whether that's being in and out of the court system, whether it's drug and alcohol and all that sort of stuff, affects how we have to make decisions after the car accident. And I guess for me, what I'd love to know, and I know TAC has already come up with the whole presentation today, not just because we're here, what can we do for people such as yourself that have, you know, got an acquired brain injury from a car accident, to support you and make sure that we're giving clients like you what you need, and also what's your experience been since then? Yeah,
sure. I actually still speak to one of my claim managers. She's left the TAC, I won't name her. 26 years, I've still got a number and I talk to her. The biggest thing for me, and I say this is only on my personal basis, is if I had a claims manager like yourself, I like to work one-on-one. I don't want to go through the shit all the time explaining everything. That was my biggest problem. And when I hook in with someone, like I hook in with Glenn as my doc, I'll follow him everywhere. So I'm real passionate. Once I got your trust in that, you know, I don't want you to leave, you know. And that's been a real big thing for me. The funniest thing the TAC said to me, sorry Glenn, was they said I contributed to my own accident by not wearing a seatbelt. Well, you go figure that out. Hey, if I went bonnet to bonnet and our dash lined up under his dash, how was I not strapped in? Why didn't I go through the windscreen? You got to be real careful the way they write letters to you sometimes. Because I rang them up one day and I got pissed off. I said, yeah, listen to this. I put my fist through the kitchen window. I said, that was for you. Within 2 hours, I had a check at the desk. First time I ever asked for a payment. But yeah, I'm sure fused. Like, you see how quick I did that. Next minute, I'm laughing, you know. Not the saying everyone's like me, but stability for me is still a bit of an issue. And like I said, I just love to hook in, whether it's a solicitor, a carer, OT, whatever. Once I found them and I'm hooked up with them and I'm comfortable, I don't want them to leave me until I'm finished. You know, I think that may help some ABI people. Not saying it works for everyone, but it's something you can look at and tell them if they're going to have the case handed to someone else. You know, and I like a direct number instead of going through a switchboard all the time. Not your home number or your mobile, just your work number. So you know, yeah. Unless you're not married, now it's a different story. Single, available, looking. Okay. I think I've done enough. Thank you.